Hi people, hello later, and welcome back to another Unthinking Aloud little video with me, Claire Driver. And as you can see, I'm out and about. I've brought you up to one of my favourite places, which is one of the graveyards. I forgot the English word there. Graveyards in Murnau, Friedhof, and it's on the side of the little hill. Murnau's in a tiny little valley right above the town, and at the end of the video I'll give you a quick whirl round so you can have a look. Yeah, it's really pretty, and this is my second video today. I'll put a link to the other one in the description, because the first one was before I took my ADHD medication this morning, and when I watched it back I was so twitchy and clearly anxious and struggling with real distracted thoughts, couldn't focus on anything. But I really wanted to make it because I've never noticed such I've never really noticed that before so much, because maybe because I had nothing to compare it to, and that was my normal. And whereas now I realise that actually on medication I have a lot less racing thoughts, a lot less distraction. Hello. I can focus on what I'm doing, things like that. I can actually say hello to someone without having weird social anxiety. Anybody that knows me will say, "What do you mean, Claire, social anxiety? You're like a social butterfly. You're such an extrovert." Yeah, because I really worked at it, but it took a huge amount of energy, and I love people. I love connecting with people. But alongside that came a lot of overthinking and worry and concern about what other people thought, or whether I'd overshared, whether I'd said too much. Classic ADHD symptoms. I'm sure we'll touch on them again in later videos. But this is the after. And so it's now just gone 3. I took my meds about, I think, 12 or something. Probably started working about 12:30, and then I sat promptly down at my computer and did an hour's work that I'd needed to do. And then I got everything that I needed to call at a couple of places on my way home and make a couple of appointments. I'd made a list of topics for future videos that I want to make, and I just did it. I was able to sit down at my desk, and there is a kind of immediate effect. Once 30 minutes in, as soon as I can feel when the medication is kind of taking effect, because it slows the mind. I have focus. I feel I have enthusiasm to sit down and do what I want to do, and it's followed through as well. That's the big thing, the follow through. And when something's in front of me, just actually acting on it, doing it. That's one of the biggest symptoms that I've really struggled with, is pushing things off till tomorrow or next week or next month or never, that should be done today or that just need doing. And things that if they would take me 5 minutes now, but suddenly become this enormous mountain because I've put it off and I've put it off and I've put it off and I've put it off, and my entire life was just plagued with that. And I've really noticed that I've been able to just action the stuff that needed action in just life admin stuff. I talked about that this morning in the other video. It's amazing. And that means that then when I'm off doing the next thing, a huge part of my mind is not taken up with feeling guilt and worry and shame around all the stuff that I haven't done and that I've put off. It's a crazy thing, ADHD, and what it does to your thought processes and the challenges that it brings. So 3 o'clock, that's 2.5, well, 3 hours in, something like that. And I can feel that the effects are lessening slowly. But I am able to sit still. I said at the beginning of the video, I think, I couldn't believe it when I watched this morning's video back, how much I was twitching, stamping my foot, twitching my legs, shrugging my shoulders, pulling my face. Like they say that, people with ADHD, it's like they're driven by an internal motor. So simply unable to sit still, which is often why over the years for me, when I've done any form of when I've found the most success I've had in being able to come back into the moment and just slow the mind down a bit is often when I've been doing some sort of movement. So exercise was huge, really helpful for me, and to bring me into the moment. Yoga, for example. I've done a fair amount of sitting meditation and gone on retreats and things like that. But it was always far more effective and less of a fight. That's the thing, less of a fight when there's movement involved. Amazing. But just before I did this video, I've sat for like 5 minutes, which, trust me, is a big thing. Just enjoying the view over the Alps and without any Hummel im Arsch, they say here, which is like bee in your bonnet or ants in your pants. It's like the German equivalent. Yeah. It's amazing what you can hear. I can hear the train. So there's a train, the Bimmelbahn, which goes through Murnau and heads off up to Oberammergau, where I work as well. I sometimes get that in summer when it's running. They're doing a lot of work on it at the moment. That's lovely. It makes every day feel like an adventure. I can hear the kids in the school behind. Very little traffic. Could hear the helicopter, which is the emergency helicopter that goes to the local hospital, which I've become pretty familiar with over the last year, the local hospital. I'll make some videos about that, about the German healthcare system and my experiences with that in the future, if anyone's interested. But yeah, it's so nice to just feel a bit of space and quiet and stillness within. Yeah, it's lovely. It's not the other thing I noticed in this morning's video was that I was using the wrong words often. I said placebo at one point instead of panacea. It was very strange watching myself. And the thing is, I've made videos in the past, but they've always been about specific topics, and I've always just delivered them almost like, not machine gun fashion, but, in a conversational way, but having some clarity about what I was going to say. So there was a topic to discuss. But I realise, and maybe I'll go back and look at some of my old videos and see whether I notice any kind of the things that I noticed from this morning's video, which was just, it was amazing watching it once with the awareness of the ADHD diagnosis. It's amazing that it gives you a framework. People have asked me, what are you expecting? What were you expecting from getting a diagnosis? Why are you looking for it now? This whole thing about, is it just because it's trendy or on topic at the moment? But what it's actually given me is a framework to understand why I do the things that I do and how I experience the world differently, and crucially, of course, what mechanisms and strategies as well as medication I can kind of build into my life, and what work and how I can build on what I know works for me and also let go of the guilt and shame around the stuff that I know, that I've always known doesn't work for me, but previously I always thought was just because I was generally just a bit shit. Generally just a bit disorganised, a bit feckless, a bit a bit, disorganised and flaky. And as much as I used to joke about that and say, oh, I need people around me following me, picking up all the ideas that I've dropped and actually doing something with it. I used to joke about that, but it was agonising because you knew that there was potential you had so much creative potential, but you just couldn't follow through. And at the moment, I'm really enjoying just following through. In the moment, I'm trying not to get carried away and think, oh, think of all the amazing things I can do and my life is going to change and blah, blah, blah. Just focusing on, okay, that's amazing. Today I've managed to do the 3 things that were on my list, or the 2 things, or the 1 thing that was on my list. I've managed to do it. And I've managed to reflect on something that happened yesterday or last week or 5 years ago within context and realise that it's, of course I was going to respond that way. Of course I was going to find that situation difficult. Of course I was going to be struggle with that, because now I understand the context for that. So it gives you a framework. So again, I said in the last video, if anyone is feeling like I felt for many years, that maybe this was the thing that was different about you, and especially with the increased awareness, that's the good thing about all the increased awareness, is that it gives people the confidence. It gave me the confidence to say, you know what, I really do fit all of that criteria, and I'm going to go and try and get a diagnosis or find out if that is what I suspect it is. So if you're in that place, especially if you're a older woman like me, older, God, that sounds weird saying that, but anyway, and you're noticing that your life is getting trickier, especially as you come into perimenopause and those years as well, that life is getting even trickier. All I can say is just go and talk to someone about it. Make that first step. It's not easy, and I know, I know that in the UK it's really difficult. There is a dearth of people able to diagnose it, and there are long waiting lists, but it's worth it. Just make the first step. Make that first step. And even though I was like 99% sure that it was going to be a diagnosis, I'm really glad that I got that from an external source, partly because it shuts up any of those muppets that might be still in your life that are thinking you are just doing it because it's hip. And it offers a counterpoint to that. It's because, let's face it, it's often the people that we're nearest to who trust our judgment least. And also, it can offer some challenge as well. Of course, with family and things, there is a wider context around that. And as that unfolds, as I, speak to my family about it again, they do know, but we haven't had a chance to chat because they live 1,000 miles away. But then maybe there'll be some stuff to share with you there as well. But life this side of the diagnosis is, so far, and today, because that's all I have, is feeling full of hope and potential. Yeah, I always saw the world as full of potential, but I feel like I have got potential now, and maybe I can start to realise some of that. So that's that. Yeah, it's starting to cool down a bit. I'm going to sign off now and wander through the graveyard. Ooh, I'll give you a quick look if I can without, I hope I don't make you feel sick. Let's have a quick whiz round. So behind me there, the Alps, again, you're not going to see them hugely because of the glare from the sun, so sorry about that. But just coming around there, you can see Murnau there, the beautiful town of Murnau and the church. There we go, really pretty in the sun. So, I'm going to turn back round because it's awful with the sun right behind me. Anyway. Speak soon.